But for now, what you're going to need to do is get all the equipment together, all the pieces to this puzzle. For about 30 bucks, you'll end up, though, with a guitar that plays like $1 million. All right, first thing you're going to need is a cigar box, and you can get those from eBay for anywhere from 5 to 20 bucks each, and there's some that are more expensive. You can also get them from a cigar shop. A lot of them have empties that they're willing to sell at a reasonable deal. Down in the square, there's a cigar box or cigar store in Bowling Green that you can buy cigar boxes from as well. My recommendation, though, is that you get the kind with a flat lid like this, as opposed to the kind that have a lid. That's just because I want to make this lesson as easy as possible. Once you've built your first one, you'll know how to compensate for this lid. But for right now, let's just go with this kind to make it easy. You're also going to need to go to a hardware store and pick up some stuff. You're going to need what's called a 1x2. This is deceptive, though, because it's not 1x2 at all, but that's just what carpenters call it. Don't know why. It's actually 3/4 of an inch by 1.5 inches by 3 feet long. They come in poplar, pine, and oak, typically. My recommendation is stay away from pine, because once you get the tension of the strings on there, it will bow. I'd stay away from oak too, just because we're going to be doing a lot of woodworking here with hand tools, and oak is just harder than it needs to be. Poplar is still a hardwood, so resist warping, but yet it's soft enough to work. The other things you're going to need is some kind of a bolt to act as a bridge. Just make sure it's 1/4 of an inch high. These are high bolts. You can use any kind of bolt, though, but if it has a head on it, you have to cut it off. They also have something called hanger bolts that you can use that don't have a head on them at all. But you might want to make sure you file down the ends to keep them from being sharp. You're also going to need some washers. And the washers are what holds the string in place. There's a little ball on the end of the strings, and a small enough washer will catch that ball. So the only other thing you'll need from the hardware store after that is a slide. This is just a piece of copper tubing, some kind of a coupling that I found in the plumbing aisle. While you're there, you might want to get a couple of tools if you don't have something already. This is what they call a scroll saw. This is handy. A regular saw will work, but this is kind of a cool thing to have. This is pretty much something you're going to need, though. This is a rasp, and it is very toothy. It digs into the wood pretty quick. In about 20-30 minutes, you can do all of the woodworking that you need to do with this guy. If you have access to power tools, though, and there's an adult around, by all means, use it. Then you're going to have to go to a music store and pick up some stuff. Let's see. You're going to need tuning machines. You'll want to get the kinds that are separate. There are some that are like 3 on a metal bracket. You don't want that. You want them all separate. You're going to want to have these things here, they're called string trees. This just kind of pulls the string down to give it a little extra tension. You'll need what's called a nut. I don't know why they call it a nut. Probably the same guy that called this a nut was the guy that called this a 1x2. But because I don't know what it's made of. It's made of plastic. But it's basically just to hold the strings in place and lift them off the neck. The other thing you're going to need, of course, is strings. You can get whatever strings you want. You can get the cheapest they have, though, because the expensive ones are made to resist corrosion. But we never actually touch the strings when we play this kind of guitar because there's a slide and pick involved. So my recommendation there is just get heavy strings so it'll project. And then the only other thing you'll need from them is a pick. You can buy a regular glass slide if you want. That's about 10 bucks. It's up to you. And that's all there is to that. So, once you've got all the parts, the first thing you're going to need to do is get the neck measured off. We've included a template at the bottom of the page of Bowling Green Parent Magazine. All you have to do is line up the end, mark where the holes go, and then mark the position of the frets. If you don't have access to the magazine anymore, somebody used the page where my article was to line the bird cage or something, you can just borrow a guitar from anybody and use that to mark the fret positions. After you've done that, I would go ahead and drill the holes. If you want to, you can go ahead and start burning the frets in. If you have a wood burning kit, you can also use the scroll saw to just cut straight lines. Remember, these are only used as reference points while you're playing. So they do have to be exact. Try to keep them as close to that as possible, to where they are on the template, but you can go ahead and get that much of it done. The next thing you need to do is get the neck to set into the body of the guitar. And to do that, you're going to have to cut a notch that is 1.5 inches by 3/4 inch deep. To do that, you just want to find the center point on each end. From that center point, you'll want to measure out 3/4 inch on either side of the center point, because 3/4 plus 3/4 equals 1.5 inches. And then you want to measure down 3/4 inch here. Then, once you've done that, I just use the scroll saw to cut down, the side part of it. And then you can use some kind of sharp thing, a screwdriver, a razor blade, whatever, again with parent supervision, and just scroll between the ends of those cuts. And just kind of keep scribing, a few times, and then do it on the other side. After you've done that, you can pretty much take a pair of pliers, just work it back and forth, and eventually that notch is just going to pop right out. Once you've done that, you'll want to use some kind of a file or sandpaper to smooth it out. And then just keep test fitting your neck into that till it fits in there nicely. Once you've done that, and you've got that in on both sides, now you've got to cut a groove in your neck that is as long as your cigar box is long and as deep as that, or as long as the lid is long, by as deep as the cigar box lid is thick. To do that, you'll want to start from that final fret position and measure from there to the point that it will emerge out of the other end of the cigar box. So if this lid is 12 inches long, for example, you'll measure from here down here 12 inches. Now, all these cigar boxes come in different widths, lengths, and all that, so I can't tell you exactly where you need to put that, but just measure yours and cut a groove in it that is that deep and that long. I'm going to go ahead and use this as an example. This is what one looks like after that's been done to it. Again, scroll saw is a good way to do that. Cut on either side, and then use the rasp to just sand it away till all that is gone. And then just keep putting it in your cigar box and test fitting it until eventually that lid closes tight and this is flush. At that point, the hardest part of this thing is done. Next thing you'll want to do is up here, you'll want to use the rasp again to clear away this wood, because the tuning machine has to stick out of there a little bit, and you also have to have some tension again against the nut. So that'll look like that when you're done. Next, you'll need to cut the groove for the nut. Use the scroll saw again to cut that first line that is in our template, and then depending on the thickness of that nut, you'll make another cut up here. Just cut out that wood until this thing fits in just like so. After that, you'll want to use the coarse sandpaper to sand all the sharp edges off of it. Use the fine grit, the 600 grit sandpaper, to make it smooth like glass. If you want to put a polyurethane finish or stain it, you can do that too. And once you've let that dry, then it's time to assemble it. You're pretty much done. The tuning machines have little ferrules on them. It's not really a big deal to install them. They have little ferrules that slip slip into the holes from the top, like so. And then the tuning machine just comes in from behind up through that ferrule. Once you've done that, they just screw into the back, and you're done with that part. Then, if you haven't already drilled the 3 holes down here, which I should have done in the beginning, you'll want to put the strings up through these holes and make sure that you have a washer that is, run them through the washer first, then run them up through here. And what I use is the thinnest string, the next thinnest string, and the bottom 3 strings out of that set of strings that you got from the guitar store. That'll work for the 3 strings. Run that up over here, lace them through the tuning machines. My advice for you is to make this one go as if it was like a 9. So it'll wind this way, where it comes off of the right-hand side of the tuning machine. This one, though, do it like it's a P. Wind it to where it's coming off the left-hand side. And then this one, do it off of the left-hand side as well. That way they'll have a little less trouble being spaced apart. Because the nuts that you bought are for a 6-string guitar, you may end up having to cut some more grooves for your strings to sit in. Just cut them evenly to where the middle string is in the middle and both the other ones are evenly spaced on either side. Put your strings in, wind them up. As they start to get tight, put that bolt down here. The trick with the bolt is to measure from this point to the 12th fret. That space has to be the same from the 12th fret to where that bolt is. So that's the rule of thumb there. It's not really that big of a deal. It's off a little bit here and there. It's no big thing. You'll just learn how to play it that way. And if you really do want to get it exactly perfect, though, you can do it by ear. Once you've tuned it, this note, open, needs to be the exact same note, except an octave above, at the 12th fret. If it's a little flat, like if you go, then you need to move that bridge until it's right. Once you've got that right, put a little bead of glue on it, keep it there, because it can move a little bit as you tune the instrument and play it. I think that pretty much covers it. If you want to learn more about this, go to Cigar Box Nation. There's instructions there how to turn your guitar into an electric cigar box guitar. There's tuning instructions. There's songs that you can learn how to play. Basically, it's time to have a good time. So I appreciate you giving it a shot. I hope you had fun. And if you do run into any problems that I can help you with, feel free to email me at robertbubnis@aol.com. It's ROBERTBUBNIS@aol.com. Send me your questions. I'll be happy to talk you through any kind of thing that you run into. Unless, of course, get too many emails, and then I'll just change my email address. But we'll see how it all works out. Thank you very much. Enjoy.